there's not much more to say about the bread. I feel like all of the bread jokes have been made. There's bread merch now, if you liked any of her bread puns. That I've seen several creators and I've gotten several ads for people making stickers and apparel. Well, hello, and cheers to the life of a showgirl, to the new Taylor Swift album. God bless us. Everyone. We're gonna chat the pod, we're gonna chat the album, we're gonna chat the visuals, we are going to chat the track list, we are going to chat predictions, and then we're gonna wait for Man's Best Friend to drop, and then Life of a Showgirl. Really, truly, we're gonna have a great fall. Things are going so badly, but really, the pop music lineup is looking up. This was a long, and like, I feel like everyone's saying that. That's like one of the first things I've heard so many people say. Your girl was not going to film a reaction the day of the podcast. I listened to the podcast in my headphones while I was at work. I was like typing away, and like in the corner my phone was face down, and I was like listening, and she was like, loving him was bread, and he was like, what? And I was like, oh, this is the longest we've like watched her like just be on camera and speak in a long time, but also this is the most casual and like just like living life we've seen her. And like, yes, it was an interview, but it was an interview with people she like considers family. I don't know, I just think it was a very like advantageous thing for her, but it was also an advantageous thing for us because we got to see so much just like real life day-to-day Tay. And like, don't get me wrong, I know some of this was planned. There were a lot of hard cuts, a lot of hard edits, but yeah, I just love how long they like allowed it to be. And I know that there was so much more footage because there were so many hard cuts. I wonder if it was because she said something or they said something that they didn't like, or because they simply just kind of like continued, because there was so much tangenting in this conversation. It was crazy, and it was not just done by Travis. Although Travis, listen, we're gonna talk about like Tayvis in a second. The only negative thing I have to say is that Travis did piss me off a few times because I was like, you're taking what she just said and you're being cute about it and you're being supportive about it, but you don't understand what she just said. And his brother caught it one time and he was like, I think you just missed the entire point of what she just said. And it was when she was like, I'm okay that I'm not an athlete, as long as you're okay with this. And he was like, the fact that I'm an athlete, yeah, of course I'm okay with that. And she was like, and his brother was like, oh, that's not what she meant. Anyway, moving on. I feel like he's just an energetic person and he always has something to say. He's such an enthusiastic person. I can be like that. I have friends that are like that. Some of my favorite people are like that. And so I know that it was done with love, and you could tell that it was done with love. Getting into the Tayvis of it all, they're just so cute and sweet. And I know it's been said enough times, but just when you are around and when you see a couple that is just truly so in love and still just like so happy and enamored with each other, it's sweet, and like you can feel like that love kind of radiating off of them a little bit. And there are also moments where you're like a little uncomfortable because you're like, these two people are so incredibly hot for each other right now. And that happened via podcast. They're just so deeply in love and into each other, and hearing them talk about how things started, they were a little like vague, and I don't want to say cagey because I want to be accusatory about it, and like you could tell that they both were very happy, and I love that for them. I love that for her. I do think that that is going to be an element that is included on this record. There was no tour doc mention in sight. There was a lot of mention of the tour and around the tour. Like, we're definitely not past the tour. Like, the tour is still a figure and an element in our life. We're still talking about it, and this album is very much still talking about it, and I'm very interested to see the behind the scenes of that in a her focused way as opposed to maybe a relationship focused way, as we saw it a little bit on Tortured Poets. I'm excited to see, I guess, just like the showgirl element of it, the sweat and vanilla perfume. I'm already quoting lyrics from an album that's not out. That's psychosis. Just because there was no tour doc mention though doesn't mean that my heart has given up on a doc. I've heard some people saying that they want like some sort of summation or documentary or something of the re-records. That I think is actually less likely than a tour documentary. Really, whatever we're served, I will eat. But I'm getting ahead of myself because we've actually already been served some delicious, delicious food. She's just a girly, guys. She's just a girly with a lot of money who is good at transposing her feelings into song lyrics. She has the same internet we do, and she uses it to find bread recipes online. She has the same Pinterest that we do. I also love how she talked about how like unending her relationship with creating and with songwriting is. Like, she has been baking bread and like wrapping it up and sending it to people and like putting little stickers and bread puns on the outside and like making little purses and blankets for like friends and loved ones' children. But she's also been writing down verses and like composing songs and like going to photo shoots, etc., in service of her work and her next album. The songwriting and the creating seems to be such a part of her and such a part of how she lives her life. I wonder how much she thinks of it as work. Like, I want to know if I was there and I was Jason asking those questions, which he was like pretty good at, actually. Like, he was really good at like conducting the interview and like directing the conversation towards like the question he had asked when they would like kind of go off, which they like absolutely always did, and they were always so supportive of each other, like just like completely going away from the topic at hand. I would want to know if songwriting or going into the studio ever felt like work, in the sense that she had to purposefully set aside time to do it, or if it really just came. It was really just like breathing to her in the way that she needed it, and she would be doing it regardless of if it was her job or not. I'm so curious about like that dynamic, and I like want to hear more about it. The physical recovery from the Eras tour, it was so not clear how badly her feet hurt, and I have such never-ending respect for that, because like we've all been somewhere where like our shoes are killing us and like you kind of can't show your pain because like you will have to be there for at least another hour, and so you just kind of soldier through with a straight face. The amount of times that she had to do that is a feat in and of itself, and I'm not going to go on and on about like how amazing it was, and like, but like, yeah, I believe like toe recovery, foot recovery was necessary after every show in order to continue being able to put on the Louboutins and power skip. I find it interesting, she said this was the first time that she was seeing like this physical record in person, which is another thing amongst like the chatter that makes me believe that this was meant to be announced closer to the release date in September and not now. I don't know if it was supposed to be on this podcast. I think I'm so curious if this was the plan, if the podcast was the plan, or if it was just a throw up because there was like the rumblings were getting too loud and like there were leaks. By the way, if there are leaks, I don't want to see them. I'm not interested in them. We are no leak household here. Please and thank you. I want to know how far in advance they decided they were going to do this. This has 1989 Part 2 written all over it, and like, do I think it's a coincidence that this is happening while she was dating Travis? Yes and no. I think this is going to happen either way. I think that there was a push to the fact that she was dating Travis, the human exclamation mark, while this happened, because 1989 is such an exclamation mark of a vibe of an album, and it seems like this one is going to be too. What I'm so obsessed with, and I think a lot of other people are saying they're obsessed with too, is that she said she is going to have banger hooks to these songs, but she's going to keep the really like in-depth, addictive songwriting and storytelling and like detail that she includes on albums like Tortured Poets and Folklore and Evermore that we've grown to love so very much. And like, I was down with the lyrics that were in 1989 and Reputation. I've been down with the lyrics since debut, but to really combine like her peak songwriting with like the sharp 1989 style of production, but updated to now with the current Taylor, like post-Eras tour Taylor energy. I mean, she made this while she was on the Eras tour, so like that's just like so peak and so paramount that I feel like the way she's describing it almost makes sense, because she's saying she is so incredibly proud of this album already, and that is some of her favorite music that she's made. And she didn't talk about Midnights like that. She didn't talk about Tortured Poets like that. She would say she was excited for them, but there's a like pride and an excitement for this music, and like just her whole chest behind all 12 of these songs. The fact that there are 12 and not 13 is wild, but like 12 songs for the 12th album, okay? But how deeply behind this album she is just absolutely makes me so deeply excited to be that behind it as well. She kept mentioning the 70s. Like whenever she would like name a date that was supposed to be like way back when, she would say 1973 or like 1970 something, and it makes me think the 70s was such a like, wasn't hyper pop like the 80s necessarily, but it was like disco and like dancing and good vibes and good feelings in terms of music. And that sounds so much like what the backdrop of her making this album was like. It was sweat and vanilla perfume and frolicking around Europe with her beloved, and like there were some intense bits, but it was also magical and marvelous and frightening and rapturous. I feel like maybe she got some inspiration, or there's something 70s in here. I have made a list of songs that I feel like are songs that already exist, some of which are Taylor Swift and some which are not, that I feel like are a vibe inspiration for what I feel like the life of a showgirl might be like. Style by Taylor Swift. Slut by Taylor Swift. Copacabana by Barry Manilow. The second, I can't lie to you, the second she said the life of a showgirl, my brain went, her name was Lola, she was a showgirl. And so that simply has to be there, because also that's a narrative song. That was one of the first narrative songs I remember hearing. Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa, Don't Stop Me Now, Queen, Dancing Queen, ABBA, Gimme Gimme, ABBA, Ready For It by Taylor Swift, Rebel Yell by Billy Idol, and You're Making My Dreams Come True by Hall & Oates. They are like little pieces and parts of all of those songs that I just feel like give me a taste of an ingredient that I feel like might be a part of this album. So let me know what you think of those song inspirations. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this cover, I was like a little bit like, not icked, but a little bit put off. And I think it's because I wasn't sure about how cut up the image is, and like how, like, I guess I just wanted to see like the edge of the bathtub or something, or just like more of the environment. I just felt like there wasn't a lot of this photo that was shown, and it seems like such a cool photo. I wanted to see more of it. But I actually have really grown to like the like shattered glass elements of all of the different album covers, including the main one. I like that the main one doesn't have any kind of shards that show any part of her face or her eye. That's all only where her face is. But there are, like, you can see some different parts of the dress. Like, there's right where Showgirl is, there's a shard where you can see like where the dress comes down over her hip, and her leg and her knee is bent. Like, you can see more of the form of the outfit, which I absolutely love, because I fucking love this dress. I'm obsessed. I don't know what it is, but like within the first like 10 minutes of seeing this album cover, I've been obsessed with the way this dress fits Taylor Swift's boobs. I love the way the piece that has her hand in it is placed over where, like, in the original photo her actual like hand and arm would be, but it's just like slightly off, so it like completes the image of her figure, but it's just a little bit shattered. I feel like it's just been really well edited. Like, this is good photography that has been put together well, and like I feel like the last time we really felt like that, the last time we really got this vibe, was the Reputation album, which is why I feel like so many people were so excited for the aesthetic of Rep TV, was because the photography for that was killer, you guys. I'm gonna put some of it up on screen. It is an aesthetic and just a side and just different editorial images of Taylor that like still are some of the best to this day, just because of how different and cool and unique they are. And like you just see a different side of her that is still very much like recognizable as Taylor. And I feel like that was so well accomplished in even just the images that we've seen. I'm so excited to see more. The cover, like I said, I originally was a little off put by it, but it's grown on me so much. I wish that we could see more of her hair. I don't like how it's all like still kind of, I don't get why it's not like billowing out behind her a little bit more, because I know the Fate of Ophelia is the first song. If you don't know the Fate of Ophelia, she ended up in the water essentially. She's in a lake and she's like, there's a famous painting of Ophelia and she's like floating in the water. There's a lot of really good art of Ophelia floating head in the water. Hamlet, great. Hamlet came up several times in this interview, which is like, I guess, appropriate. Do you guys want a video explaining Hamlet? I feel like most people probably know already, but if it's really that important for people to understand, I was a drama major. I can explain Hamlet. I don't know. I feel like her hair, that's like maybe the one thing I wish we could see more of it, but maybe it was something that they were like, no, like it's too dark. It kind of like takes away from the composition and the coloring of the photo. I think maybe that's what it was, is that if they had it billowing out behind her, it was too dark and it was distracting and it kind of messed up the contrast and the lighting of the photo. I like that the water is a little bit cloudy because at first I didn't realize that's what it was. I thought it was like almost like a box. Like I thought she was in like a frosted like doll box and she was like kind of pressed up like against the front of it, and so that's why like you could see that part of her face clearly. I love that like the water is a little bit cloudy because it also kind of alludes to the drowned Ophelia. But then she was like, no, this is the end of my day, I'm in a bathtub. So I don't know, I like the dichotomy of both, like the idea, and like I don't know, maybe this started as her being like, no, I still want to be in the showgirl outfit, but I want to like have just gotten in the shower and I want to see you see it running off of me, and like the intensity of that, and then that turned into this. And so like it's interesting, like she's still so perfect, but like she is in the water. And then you have the element of her hair. I really think I want to know how much thought was put into that, because that really does make a huge difference, because it's not done and it's not making a big statement of billowing out behind her. It really is just kind of like put back in a wet way, almost like how it would be if you were standing in a shower, just completely down and like wet ratted. And I do think that kind of works. She's also not wearing earrings. They've been taken off, but she still has a bracelet on, which I think is interesting. Maybe the bracelet was just added for the balance of the photo. She doesn't have a necklace or any other jewelry on, which I feel like she would if she was still like in her complete showgirl regalia. But all that to say, I really, really like the cover. I also really like the glittering effect. It's been kind of like added to a lot of the posts on social media, and if you go to the website, I think it's really, really pretty. Let's talk about the other images aside from the cover that were released. Now the back cover with the track list I really love. It's just giving the like quintessential, like when I would hear her name was Lola, she was a showgirl with yellow feathers in her hair and a dress cut down to there. This is what I pictured. She has the feathers in her hair and it's in like headpiece, but I love, she has like a red lip and she looks like she's in the middle of a show or a rehearsal with her hands up over her headpiece, like she's like strutting around the tables, making her way up to the stage. But then you can see her eyes, they're like darting off to the side and she looks preoccupied. She looks fixated on something. And then the little cutaways are of her eyes up between the tracks wood and canceled, just like a little cut of her eyes looking wistfully off to the side. And the way the headpiece goes over her bangs could be so bad, but it actually looks so natural and good. The way this is warmly lit, I can feel with the like fabric behind it, I can feel the like lounge with red like theater curtains, and it smells a little bit like alcohol, cleaner and like smoke. Like I feel like this picture is from when like you could still smoke indoors. Rapturous is her in, it's not the exact same pose, it's a similar pose to one that she was doing in Reputation, except for in that photo she has two of her fingers on the side of her nose, kind of on the inner corner of her eye. I love the way the green lighting is coming up on her face. It looks a little bit sinister, but it also could be so many different things. She could be in a dark dressing room or like a dark backstage waiting to go on, and then the feathers create this really nice framing. It's beautiful. This I think is, I don't know if it's my favorite of the variant covers or not, because the It's Frightening edition I'm obsessed with. There's another cutaway of her eyes, and then there's a cut that makes it of her grabbing the chair in the top left side that makes it look like she's holding the shard there at the side of the frame, and it looks really, really good. And then there's a couple shards that are just like her fishnet. So I like the way this is put together, and I really like actually the dead dark space of the theater in the back. It like makes it so sinister. Like she looks like she's robbing this theater. I don't know how, but she looks like she's like ready to like break, enter, murder, and leave this theater, and she's going to be successful. It also evokes within my memory, if any of you ever watched Smash, there's a number about Marilyn learning Stanislavski, and in that musical theater number a bunch of the actors like rise up and crawl over the theater chairs in a like methodical acting frenzy. This gives Theater Kid in that way for me so very much. Like, this girl watched Glee, but also like the drama of this photo could only be done by the people who did the Reputation photos. And the It's Beautiful cover reminds me immediately of this photo from 1989. And I think it's because of the harsh lighting and her makeup and the way she's laying on what like appears to be like, I don't think it's a fancy rug. I think it's like up against a curtain. I went back and forth about this cover because at first I kind of really didn't like that you could see the nude lining of the headpiece along her ear in the front. Like I just wanted to see the jewels, and I don't like that you could see that, but also like that's reality of the outfit. And I do kind of like that now that I think about it a little bit more. What I wasn't sure about was the fact that the cutout was of her finger, like the finger bite. And it's because I think that I'm unsure about the finger bite at all. And I'm not sure what I want her doing with her hands instead. It's just that finger bite photos, at this point, I feel like the only person who could pull it off would be Lana or Sabrina. And it's because it's like a part of their aesthetic, and I don't know if the biting of the finger is necessary on top of this outfit. I feel like this outfit already is like a little bit of like a sultry finger bite, but I don't know what else I want her to do with her hands. I kind of want her to just be like leaning up. Like I want this to be like her like lounging before or after the show, still in her outfit, and I feel like that's what this photo is supposed to be. And so I just, it's the only one that's not absolutely perfect to me, and that's weird because this is the one I feel like people absolutely love the most. And I don't not love it, I just feel like I'm not catching the vibe so incredibly clearly and the intention of the photo as much as I am with the other ones. I mean, I'm catching the intention of the photo. It's like to certain, but I don't know. It's the cutting out of the finger bite and the finger bite. I just, if you get what I'm saying, let me know. So those are all the album covers. And then there are 1, 2, 3 more photos that she included in the carousel. The first one is her sitting in this dressing room with a old-fashioned martini glass and this kind of like Elizabeth Taylor wig. And I think the same headpiece as the back of the album. No, it's not. Different headpiece. And I think it's a different dress too, because the one on the back of the album like comes up around her neck. This one doesn't. So this one looks like it's like a bodysuit. I love the like shoes. Those are such like showgirl shoes, the way that they like spiral up around the ankle with the little glitteries coming off the edge. I love again the way she's kind of like engulfed and almost looks like she's wearing nothing but the feathers. It's so like glamorous. The only thing I don't like about this picture, I feel like the dressing room looks fantastic, like it's giving Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess cover vibes. It's just it's the emptiness of the dressing room and the amount of like empty space around her. Like I almost feel like this was supposed to be an album cover because of how much room there is for words or a track list, and it's not there. And so there's just a lot of space and like carpet. But this is giving like pre or post show drink for the showgirl. And I love it. The people who did these photos are so good at balancing the contrast of light in that like this photo. I love this photo and I love that she included it because I don't think it could have been used for really anything else other than just like promo. Like I don't see it being a back cover or like an album cover, but her on the vigilante shit chairs that she brought in from the tour for this photo shoot, and she's like leaning off of one of them and kind of over the other onto what appears to be a third. This like bejeweled velvet corset, and it has the like Stella McCartney like scoop up that like some people hate, some people love. I personally love it. And she has matching gloves and knee-high boots and her red lip, and the way that she's lit so harshly from the front, and the shadows in the back are so dark as a result, but you don't lose any of the detail. I'm just noticing the earrings that she has on. Like I love how matchy-matchy the outfit is. I love the little kind of like petals it has coming off the front and the sides. It fits her so perfectly. Like all of these outfits had to be custom made for her. Like they just fit her so perfectly. Like it's giving like a Rockette. Like you get your measurements done and then all of your outfits, she has to just have her measurements. Her exact measurements just have to be like ready at the drop of a hat so far in advance for like things for shoots. It's probably insane. But yeah, I love that picture. Finally, we have this. To me, this is the like during the show showgirl photo. Like this is her, like she's out, she's making her way from the back of the bar to the stage to do the show, and she has like this huge amazing like not even a boa, it's like an arm drape with like several boas coming down off of it. It's so intricate and it just so perfectly encapsulates what you picture when you think of Showgirl. The stage and the background and the lighting and the like excess of it all. It's giving Burlesque, the movie, a classic. Okay, let's talk tracklist because this is wild. The Fate of Ophelia. This could either be commenting upon the fate of Ophelia and how she feels about that. There's been a lot of writing done about Ophelia and like the feminism of it all, and just there's just a lot to say. So Taylor could easily have her own things to say about that, or her like her relation to that circumstance and that character, or it could be like kind of like Betty, like a narration of a story from a certain point of view. Could it be from the point of view of Ophelia? That could be very interesting. But the fact that the song title is The Fate of Ophelia, if that's like said in the song, I feel like it's gonna be a like more of a Cassandra retelling, like, and that was the fate of Ophelia, like more of a story, I think. And then it's going to include some of her relation and commentary on top of it. Just in the tonality of the song. I feel like this is gonna be a medium pace. Like I don't feel like this is gonna be the big bombastic loud banger. I could be wrong, but I have a hard time unless it's like fuck you feminist commentary and like, and that was what happened, and like we do this and we do that, and because of this, that was the fate of Ophelia, and that's still happening today in these ways, then I could see her having a little bit of an attitude about it and it being a little more upbeat. But then I also could see her doing something like that with the next one, Elizabeth Taylor. This is talking about another famous woman. However, this one was real life and not fictional, but she was very fictionalized in a very like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo way. She was like a purported man-eater in Hollywood who was said to have violet eyes, and if you get the regular cover like CD, the keychain that you get is a violet eye, and it says like specifically like a violet eye keychain with like violet rhinestones, and so I feel like that's probably going to be a lyric. And I feel like this is going to be like almost a Last Great American Dynasty type of telling about like, and those are all the things that they said about Elizabeth Taylor, and then maybe a flash or two of what like the actual truth was, and then like how that relates to her. How that relates to her is kind of like implied in all of these. Number 3, opalite. All I could is the actual name of the stone opal, like the October birthstone, is like the full name opalite? I think it is. And the second I heard that, all I could think of is like her using the lyric in the opal light, and then using the word opalite later after that. That would just be so like her and clever. But also I feel like she's going to use the lyrics lightning in a bottle in this song, because she said that in the pod, but also the It's Beautiful edition of a keychain, you get a bracelet, and it's a bracelet with a little star and an opal on it, but it has lightning bolts on it. I feel like the song Opalite is going to be about like the magic and the rarity of loving someone, and like the way it like lights up your life, and like how you see things in an opal light because of them, and how it feels like catching lightning in a bottle. Number 4, father figure, distresses me because I just don't understand. I don't know. That phrase just kind of gives me the skeeves. It's about her wanting to be that for someone else, and it working out or not, and maybe like the search for and feeling of a search for a Tay daughter, or like the wanting to be a mentor to someone, or maybe like the commenting on someone who needs one. I don't know. I could see it like, again, these could always turn snarky, and like ever since Blank Space, and I feel like the snarky like version of this is like satirizing people who hate on women and being like, oh, she must have never had a father figure in her life or whatever. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's more than that. I feel like it's deeper than that. And I feel like it's like a commentary on like a feeling that she's had. I'm very interested in like, in what way. What's even more befuddling is that it's followed by track 5, Eldest Daughter. It's interesting that it's track 5, and I feel like this has to just be about how brutal it is to go through the trials and tribulations of being an eldest daughter, and like what that means, and like shaping that. So I'm very interested in that. I'm very, very interested in that. For some reason, I don't think this is going to be down tempo either. I don't think this one, and I don't think father figure is going to be super down tempo either. Ruin the friendship I'm very interested in, because I feel like there are 2 ways to ruin a friendship. One is betrayal, and one is by turning a friendship into a romantic relationship. And I'm very curious which one of those this is about. Actually romantic is hard not to see as like, this is actually romantic, and I'm going to reference something that wasn't. Either that, or like expecting something or someone to not be romantic and having it be. And so like, I don't know, I feel like there's going to be a lyric about a love letter, because that's what the It's Rapturous keychain is. It's like a little like love letter that says actually romantic on like the letter that goes into the little envelope. It's very cute. And so like, I don't know, maybe it's about it being like actually romantic to be on the road and having that be your time with someone, like her and Travis in Europe, and him like leaving her a little note before the show, leaving her a little note in the cleaning cart, a little envelope, a little letter with a heart on it, like have a good show, love you, or like a little joke or something. That would be really cute. Maybe it's about, I hope it's about that. I hope that's it. That's really cute. Wish list, I'm like a little bit head empty about because of the dollar signs. I don't know, and there's no feature. Also, none of these tracks are explicit. According to like what I've seen like on Spotify when I was able to like pre-save the album, there are no like track lengths yet. But I feel like the little explicit would be there, and like shock, awe, a little bit, like not a single one. Even Tortured Poets had some explicit tracks, girls. Wish list, I'm a little bit head empty about. And so the only note that I wrote next to it was her 7 things, question mark. I don't know if I want a song about Tay-billionaire flexing, but I'm trusting her to do it in like a cheeky, funny, fun way. I'm trusting her to do it in a cheeky, funny, self-aware, fun way. I'm hoping.
There was a dog barking literally the entire time I was talking about Cancelled, and I didn't think you were going to be able to hear it, but you very much can. I feel like Cancelled is going to be like all of these vignettes of like very much like last 10-year scenarios of like either ironic or like make you think everything was not what it seemed scenarios of people being canceled, and just a bunch of references to all of the stereotypes you think about surrounding the word canceled. So like a notes app apology joke or like an apology video joke, I feel like would be very appropriate in this song. I feel like this song is like written from the same mode Blank Space was written in. Travis loves this song, and we know Travis loves Blank Space.
I saw a fake leaked lyric for Wood on Twitter the other day that I would like to scrub from my brain, and it has taken me like, it took me like a full 24 hours to come up with any idea what the hell the song Wood could be about. But it did occur to me that it's probably a metaphor. It's probably a romantic metaphor. Wood is everlasting and carvable and moldable, used to build things. And so what I came up with after all of my like mental gymnastics was knocking on wood for like luck or like wanting to keep something. And then also I looked up like wood metaphors, and one of them was the idea of putting wood or like the like staff behind an arrow, like the type of arrow that you would shoot from a bow. And she is the archer. And so I like the idea of this being about her putting the wood behind the arrow of a relationship. Because the It's Frightening keychain is a heart with an arrow through it, and it says wood on the back, which is like so weird, but that makes me think that this is like a deeply romantic song. And then the arrow and the arrow metaphor I saw when I looked up wood metaphors like seems to click with that. And so in my head now, I just have this idea of her saying, I'll put the wood behind our arrow. The wood behind the arrow, a common metaphor used to represent focusing resources and effort on a limited number of priorities to achieve greater impact. It emphasizes the importance of concentration, strategic allocation of resources, and maximizing the effectiveness of action. The heart keychain is really giving me that. I'm putting a lot on these keychains, you guys. It's really bad. But then also honey. How could honey not be romantic? Either that, or if it's about like telling her honey something, like relaying like the craziness of her life to her partner and being like, honey, comma, da 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 da, and like the narrative and the cuteness of that. I think that could be fun. But also the notes that I wrote were, it's new, the shape of your body, it's blue, / honey baby, a joy, happy, honey, I love you song. And of those so far, we've got opalite, actually romantic, wood, and honey. So that's 4 of 12, that's 1/3. And you know what, I'm willing to concede that. Because the last song is The Life of a Showgirl, and featuring Sabrina Carpenter. And I feel like this is just gonna be such a fun, upbeat, disco-y, like the perfect combination of Sabrina and Taylor. Like the beginning of Man-Child, that with like Last Great American Dynasty and Clara Bow storytelling. Like just really vivid, lines one after the other. The sweat and vanilla perfume lyric about what it looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like to be in the life of a showgirl, and like the high highs of that and the low lows. I also think sweat and vanilla perfume will rhyme with the word you, perfume and you. I could be wrong. Just like I'm picturing a lot of like sensory world building and storytelling in this song with like a very disco kind of like ABBA gimme gimme beat, please. Well, that is it. Thank you guys so very much for joining me today to discuss and chit chat about life of a showgirl and the little morsels that we have to talk about thus far. I don't know if I think we're going to get more before the release. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if she's gonna give us a like single like pre-release. I actually don't think she is, unless she decides to give us the life of a showgirl featuring Sabrina Carpenter kind of like in conjunction as like a part of the man's best friend release. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Thank you so very much for being here again. Please give it a like if you did like it. Give it a thumbs up if you will. Subscribe if you would like to be here for the next video. It's either going to be a Sabrina, Lana, or another Taylor one. I have not decided, but I would love to see you there. Thank you so much again. I need to try a flavored sourdough, you guys. The problem is that like she said she got this starter from this like her mom's friend or like her neighbor's friend or something, and like what if the starter that I were to get is shitty? Then like my sourdough will never reach like those levels. But like, and I'm not like that passionate about like even like the best sourdough I've ever had, but like maybe a flavored one would change the game. They're making it sound like it's changed the game. What about like a tomato basil? You know, like a tomato, it's an Italian herb, sourdough, like a savory sounds good. They were doing a lot of sweet sourdoughs, and I just don't know how that could combine. I'm really interested in it and I want to try it.